Hello and welcome once again to the channel, Cactus Friends. We are in the beautiful state of San Luis Potosí in Mexico, and we are walking on a dry lagoon which probably dried a couple of million years ago, give or take. All the soil you see is mineral sedimentary deposit, and we're looking for one of the lesser known Lophophora species, none other than Lophophora koehresii. It's one of my personal favorites and I really want to see it in its natural habitat. So hopefully we'll be able to find them. They like to hide under the soil, so it might prove a little difficult, but we're up for the challenge. Thank you for joining us in this adventure and this ultimate goal of seeing and documenting over 1,800 species of cacti on the planet, in hopes that you all fall in love with them and their ecosystems, and we all fight for conservation.
If it's your first time on the channel, welcome. I hope you like cacti. We make nothing but content related to cacti and succulents in both cultivation and habitat to try to highlight the importance of their conservation. Remember, take nothing but pictures from habitat.
Wow.
Before we can begin our search for the main focal point of today's video, we're going to see an Ariocarpus that's brand new for our channel, and one that used to be considered a subspecies of Ariocarpus fissuratus, and is still considered by many to be a variety of Ariocarpus bravoanus, none other than Ariocarpus hintonii. This Ariocarpus species lives on limestone-rich rocky hills like this one, between 5,200 and 6,500 feet above sea level, and its range is restricted to only this beautiful state of San Luis Potosí. This entire landscape was completely overrun by insects, an army of pollinators that is here by no coincidence, as they arrived just in time to pollinate the flowers not just of cacti, but of all plants in the area. These Ariocarpus, like most other species of cacti in the wild, are extremely slow growing, and their range is quite limited, so they're vulnerable to human development and poaching, and they really need our awareness and protection in order to survive. The number and variety of life forms that can be found on the desert floor is truly astounding. Some of these life forms are quite large and some are tiny, like this cryptobiotic crust, which can be found all over the desert floor and is composed primarily of very small organisms that can't be seen with the naked eye. Insects are cacti's best friends, and all plants in general. They not only start off the process of reproduction by pollinating their flowers, but even carry out the task of spreading out their seed, as we'll see later on in the video. These Ariocarpus are able to camouflage themselves and perfectly blend into their surroundings, partly due to the color of their skin, which is very similar to those of the rocks around them, and also due to the fact that often some or most of their tubercles are completely covered by soil. But lucky for us, the intense color of their flowers, which are usually used to attract insect pollinators, helped us find this beautiful locality. It was also quite a treat finding such tiny Ariocarpus hidden between the rocks. But these weren't the only small cacti we found, since we also saw plenty of Ariocarpus hintonii seedlings, which, as I'm always telling you, are a great sign that the ecosystem is nice and healthy. And after seeing such a spectacle of nature, we were quite ready to go put in some work and try to find the dry lagoon to locate the most remote of all Lophophora cactus species. And after about 6 hours of driving and seeing beautiful desert towns, we finally made it to a dry lagoon. And it was noon, which is not the best time to be looking for cacti given the intense desert heat and the fact that the sun bounces off the surface of the ground and makes it nearly impossible to find cacti. But we didn't want to stop our search because we weren't sure if we would find Lophophoras in this place yet. Whenever I'm in the desert looking for cacti, I have to always remind myself to drink water, because it's pretty easy to get carried away and excited about plants and all your surroundings and completely forget and become dehydrated. Although the Ariocarpus cochovellanos, which are residents to this dry lagoon, were beautiful, and their blooms made it definitely worth coming here by error, we're looking for Lophophora koehresii, so we better hit the road and try to find that locality before it gets dark.
Thank you for joining this adventure. Remember to visit our website eastcoastcamanchaca.com for cactus t-shirts, plants, soil, or pots.
We arrived at yet another dry lagoon, and the sun was almost unbearable, but we were not about to give up.
Now I know why Lophophora koehresii is not one of the most popular species. We are in the middle of nowhere, like really in the middle of nowhere. Like the nearest somewhere is about 4 hours away on a pretty miserable road. And the sun is just brutal right now, but all this effort was so worth it. Here I introduce to you Lophophora koehresii. All the effort was worth it, wouldn't you say? What a beautiful, beautiful plant. I'm glad that it's so far removed from any any sort of city or any populated area, because that's part of the reason why they're still here. And luckily they'll still be far away from civilization for many more years to come, and they will stay here nice and happy.
We were only finding Lophophora koehresii underneath the slight shade provided by nurse plants, so we kept on looking for more individuals in the exact same situation under a little bit of shade. Little by little, we started finding other species of cacti which also seemed to enjoy these same exact conditions, living under a little bit of shade provided by these nurse plants, which make it possible for most, if not all, cactus species to survive the desert, especially during juvenile years right after germination, where they simply cannot withstand the intense desert heat. After finding and documenting a few more Lophophora koehresii plants, we decided to venture out into the plains, which were seemingly desolate, but as some of you may know, looks can be extremely deceiving in the desert. And much to my surprise, even in these areas which were void of any sort of nurse plants or any shade provided by anything whatsoever, we were still able to find Lophophora koehresii. But these plants, which had to endure much harsher conditions than those we found earlier, were definitely under a lot more stress. Most of these specimens were completely dug into the soil, probably contracted due to the extreme drought, especially when you compare them to the much more plump and nicer looking individuals we found earlier living underneath the nurse plants. I hope you enjoyed this adventure as much as we did. Remember, take only pictures from nature, and if you like this episode, hit the like button and subscribe so I can see you on the next one.